The California sun streamed through the windows of Riley Curry's bedroom in their Atherton home, casting golden rectangles across her neatly organized desk, where homework assignments sat completed in perfect stacks. At 9 years old, Riley had inherited more than just her father's infectious smile. She possessed an unwavering determination that impressed everyone around her. "Riley, sweetheart, time to get ready." Aisha's voice drifted up the stairs, carrying the familiar warmth that made their house feel like home rather than just another mansion in Silicon Valley's most exclusive neighborhood. Riley bounded down the hardwood staircase, her school uniform crisp and her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. The kitchen smelled of Aisha's signature cinnamon pancakes, and baby Cannon was already secured in his high chair, giggling as he attempted to feed himself with more enthusiasm than success. "Big day today, isn't it?" Aisha smiled, flipping a pancake with practiced ease. Her own culinary empire kept her busy, but family breakfast remained sacred in the Curry household. "I'm so nervous, Mom," Riley admitted, sliding onto her designated stool at the marble kitchen island. "What if I don't win? What if Jessica Martinez gets it instead? She's really smart, too." "You've worked incredibly hard on that environmental project," Aisha reassured her, placing a perfectly golden pancake on Riley's plate. "Win or lose, we're proud of the effort you put in. Remember what Daddy always says about focusing on what you can control?" Riley nodded, reciting the familiar phrase, "Control your effort, not the outcome." Stephen had left early for practice. The Golden State Warriors were in the thick of their season, with playoffs approaching. The rhythm of professional basketball meant unpredictable schedules, missed dinners, and sometimes disappointment when important family moments conflicted with team obligations. But Stephen and Aisha had worked hard to ensure their children understood that love wasn't measured by physical presence alone. As they drove through the tree-lined streets toward Stratford School, Riley pressed her face against the window, watching the familiar landmarks of her childhood pass by. The private school sat nestled among rolling hills, its ivy-covered buildings and manicured grounds representing the kind of educational excellence that Stephen and Aisha prioritized for their children. "Will Daddy be able to make it to the ceremony?" Riley asked quietly, her breath fogging the window. Aisha glanced in the rearview mirror, seeing the hope and resignation warring in her daughter's eyes. "He's going to try his absolute best, baby. You know how much these moments mean to him." The school parking lot buzzed with activity as parents dropped off their children. Riley waved goodbye to her mother and joined her classmates, her stomach fluttering with anticipation and nerves. Today's award ceremony would recognize students who had demonstrated exceptional achievement in various subjects, and Riley's environmental science project on water conservation in California had earned her a nomination. Inside the familiar hallways decorated with student artwork and achievement banners, Riley found her best friend Emma waiting by their lockers. "Are you ready for this?" Emma asked, her own excitement evident. She had been Riley's partner on several projects and understood the weight of today's significance. "I think so," Riley replied, organizing her books with methodical precision. I wish Daddy could be here." Emma, wise beyond her 9 years, placed a reassuring hand on Riley's shoulder. "He's always proud of you, even when he can't be here. My dad says that's what makes someone a good parent, supporting you even from far away." The school auditorium filled with the comfortable chaos of an elementary school assembly. Parents clutched phones ready to capture precious moments. Younger siblings squirmed in their seats, and teachers moved with practiced efficiency to organize their classes. Riley sat in the third row with her fourth-grade class, her hands folded neatly in her lap, trying to project calm while her heart raced. Principal Matthews, a kind woman with silver hair and laugh lines earned from decades of working with children, approached the podium with her characteristic warmth. "Good morning, Stratford families," she began, her voice carrying easily through the sound system. "Today we celebrate not just academic achievement, but the curiosity, creativity, and compassion that our students demonstrate every day." Riley scanned the audience, hoping against hope to spot her father's distinctive figure among the parents. Aisha sat in the fourth row, Cannon on her lap, offering an encouraging smile, and a subtle thumbs up. But Stephen's seat remained empty, a reality that Riley was learning to accept as part of their family's unique circumstances. Our first award today recognizes outstanding achievement in environmental science, Principal Matthews continued. This year's winner demonstrated not only scientific understanding, but also a genuine commitment to making a difference in our community. Riley's palms grew sweaty. Beside her, Emma reached over and squeezed her hand, a gesture of friendship that spoke volumes about the supportive environment Stephen and Aisha had encouraged their daughter to seek out. The winner of this year's Environmental Science Excellence Award is Riley Curry for her comprehensive project on water conservation strategies for California communities. The auditorium erupted in applause, and Riley felt her cheeks flush with pride and disbelief. She had won. After months of research, late nights perfecting her presentation, and countless revisions to her written report, she had actually won. As she walked toward the stage, her legs feeling slightly unsteady, Riley caught sight of her mother's beaming face. Aisha was clapping enthusiastically, Cannon babbling happily on her lap, and Riley felt a surge of confidence. Her project had focused on practical solutions that communities could implement to reduce water waste, from rain collection systems to drought-resistant landscaping. It represented hours of genuine passion and research. Riley's project didn't just demonstrate scientific knowledge, Principal Matthews announced as Riley approached the podium. She also implemented her suggestions at home and documented the results. This is the kind of real-world application we hope to see from all our students. Riley accepted the certificate and trophy with both hands, feeling the weight of recognition and accomplishment. As she looked out at the audience, she spotted familiar faces, classmates, teachers, parents she'd known since kindergarten. This was her community, and today she felt truly celebrated by it. "Thank you," she said into the microphone, her voice stronger than she had expected. "I want to thank my teachers for encouraging me to ask big questions, my mom for helping me stay organized, and my dad for always telling me that small actions can make big differences." The mention of Stephen brought another round of applause, and Riley felt a pang of longing. In moments like these, his absence felt particularly acute. She knew he was proud. He always was. But having him there would have made the moment perfect. As she returned to her seat, trophy in hand, Riley felt Emma's congratulatory hug and heard the whispered praise from classmates around her. Mrs. Peterson, her science teacher, gave her an approving nod that conveyed years of mentorship and encouragement. The ceremony continued with awards in mathematics, literature, and arts, but Riley found her attention drifting. She imagined telling her father about every detail, the way her hands shook when her name was called, the weight of the trophy, the feeling of speaking into the microphone. These were the moments that made their family's sacrifices feel worthwhile. Just as Principal Matthews was preparing to announce the final award of the ceremony, a gentle commotion near the auditorium entrance caught everyone's attention. A tall figure in a warrior's warm-up jacket was speaking quietly with school security, and whispers began rippling through the audience. Riley turned in her seat, following the collective gaze of her classmates, and her heart nearly stopped. Stephen Curry was walking down the side aisle of the auditorium, his familiar smile lighting up the room despite his obvious effort to minimize disruption. "Is that really?" Emma whispered, her eyes wide with disbelief. Riley couldn't speak. She watched as her father navigated through the crowd with practiced grace, nodding politely to parents who recognized him, but maintaining his focus on reaching his family. Aisha's face showed pure surprise and joy. Clearly, this appearance was unplanned and unexpected. Stephen had been at practice when he received Aisha's text about Riley's win. Coach Kerr was in the middle of explaining defensive rotations when Stephen felt his phone buzz. The message was simple. "She won, Stephen. She actually won the Environmental Science Award. Wish you were here." Without hesitation, Stephen had approached his coach. "I need to leave," he said simply. "Riley won an award at school, and I should be there." Coach Kerr, a father himself, had looked at Stephen with understanding. "Go," he said. "We'll manage practice without you today." Now, standing in the back of the auditorium, Stephen felt the familiar tension between his public persona and his private role as a father. Every eye in the room was on him. Phones were discreetly emerging from pockets, and he could sense the excitement building among the children. But his focus remained singular. He was here for Riley. Principal Matthews, with the poise of someone accustomed to unexpected situations, smiled from the podium. "It appears we have a special guest who's come to celebrate with us today." Stephen approached the front of the auditorium, and Riley felt her emotions threatening to overwhelm her. He had come. Despite practice, despite his busy schedule, despite all the reasons he could have stayed away, he had come. "I'm sorry for the interruption," Stephen said, his voice carrying the same warmth that endeared him to fans worldwide. "I heard there was some celebrating happening here, and I couldn't miss it." He looked directly at Riley, his pride evident to everyone in the room. "I heard my daughter won an award for her environmental science project, and I wanted to congratulate her properly." Riley stood up from her seat, her trophy still clutched in her hands, and Stephen opened his arms. The auditorium watched as father and daughter embraced, a moment of pure family connection that transcended celebrity and achievement alike. "I'm so proud of you," Stephen whispered in her ear. His words meant only, for her. "Mom told me all about your project, and I can't wait to hear every detail." When they separated, Riley looked up at her father with shining eyes. "I didn't think you could make it," she said. "I'll always try to make it," Stephen replied. "These moments matter more than anything else." What happened next would be remembered by every student, parent, and teacher in that auditorium for years to come. Rather than simply taking a seat next to Aisha, Stephen looked around the room at the faces of Riley's classmates, children who had watched their friend achieve something special, children who were learning about hard work and recognition, and the importance of community support. "Principal Matthews," Stephen said, turning toward the podium, "would it be okay if I shared something with Riley's class?" The principal nodded, intrigued by what the NBA superstar might have in mind. Stephen walked toward Riley's section, where 24 fourth graders sat in various states of awe and excitement. Emma was practically vibrating with enthusiasm, while other students stared with the kind of starstruck wonder that comes from meeting a hero in person. "I want to talk to you all about what Riley accomplished today," Stephen began, his voice taking on the tone he used when speaking to young fans. "She didn't just win an award. She identified a problem in our community and worked hard to find solutions. That's what real leadership looks like." Riley felt her cheeks warm with pride and embarrassment as her father continued. "But here's the thing," Stephen said, crouching down to be at eye level with the seated children. "Riley didn't do this alone. She had teachers who encouraged her questions, friends who supported her research, and a whole community that believed in her ideas. That's what makes this achievement so special." He stood up and reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out something that made several children gasp with excitement. A brand new basketball, signed with his signature. "This isn't just for Riley," Stephen announced. "This is for Riley's entire class, because I know that you all supported each other throughout this project. I want you to keep this in your classroom as a reminder that when one of you succeeds, you all succeed." The students erupted in cheers and applause, but Stephen wasn't finished. From his other pocket, he produced a stack of small cards. "These are invitations," he said, his smile growing wider. "I'd like to invite Riley's entire class, along with your families, to be my guests at next week's Warriors game against the Lakers. You'll sit in a special section, and after the game you can come onto the court and meet some of the other players." The auditorium filled with gasps and excited chatter. Parents looked at each other in disbelief, children bounced in their seats, and teachers struggled to maintain any semblance of order. This was beyond anyone's wildest expectations. Riley stared at her father, overwhelmed by his generosity. She had won an individual award, but he was turning it into a celebration for everyone who had been part of her journey. It was a gesture that perfectly embodied the values he and Aisha had worked to instill in their children. Success is sweeter when shared, and recognition should lift up the entire community. "Dad," Riley whispered, tugging on his jacket, "you didn't have to do this." Stephen knelt down beside his daughter's chair, speaking quietly while the excitement continued around them. "Yes, I did," he said. "These are your friends, your teachers, your community. They celebrated you today, and now we get to celebrate all of them." Mrs. Peterson, Riley's science teacher, approached with tears in her eyes. "Mr. Curry, this is incredibly generous. The children will never forget this." "That's the point," Stephen replied. "I want them to remember that hard work gets recognized, that communities support each other, and that there's always something to celebrate when we come together." As the ceremony concluded and families began to mingle, Riley found herself surrounded by classmates who were alternating between congratulating her on her award and expressing disbelief about the upcoming Warriors game. Emma had attached herself to Riley's side, practically glowing with excitement. "Your dad is literally the coolest person ever," Emma declared. "But you know what? You totally deserved that award. Your water conservation project was amazing." Riley smiled, feeling a completeness she hadn't experienced earlier. The award had been wonderful, but seeing her father surprised not just her, but her entire school community felt like something bigger. It felt like a lesson in how to use success as a platform for generosity. As they prepared to leave the school, Stephen walked with his arm around Riley's shoulders, carrying her trophy while she clutched the signed basketball meant for her classroom. "Thank you for coming, Dad," Riley said as they reached the parking lot. "And thank you for inviting everyone. That was really special." "You're really special," Stephen replied, "and I wanted to make sure everyone knows it. Your project, your hard work, your achievement, that deserves to be celebrated by everyone who helped make it possible." Aisha joined them, Cannon in her arms, her face still showing amazement at the day's unexpected turn. "I can't believe you managed to get away from practice," she said to Stephen. "Coach Kerr understands what matters," Stephen replied. "Besides, there will be thousands of practices in my career, but Riley will only win her first major school award once." As they drove home through the familiar streets of their neighborhood, Riley reflected on the day's events. She had started the morning nervous about winning an award, worried about her father's absence, focused on individual achievement. She was ending the day with a trophy, yes, but more importantly, with a memory of how her father had transformed her personal success into a community celebration. The upcoming Warriors game would be incredible. Her classmates would have an unforgettable experience, and Riley had learned something valuable about the responsibility that comes with recognition. Success, her father had shown her, was not just about personal accomplishment. It was about lifting others up and using achievement as a foundation for generosity. That evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Riley placed her trophy on the kitchen counter where everyone could see it. But the conversation around the table wasn't just about her award. It was about the upcoming game, the excitement of her classmates, and the joy of sharing special moments with the people who matter most. "I'm proud of you for more than just winning today," Stephen told Riley as she helped clear the dishes. "I'm proud of how graciously you handled the spotlight, how you included your friends in the celebration, and how you understood that this moment was about more than just you." Riley smiled, understanding for the first time that the real lesson of the day wasn't about environmental science or even about winning awards. It was about the power of community, the importance of generosity, and the way that individual achievements can become collective celebrations when approached with the right heart. As she prepared for bed that night, Riley looked at her trophy one more time before turning off her bedroom light. Tomorrow, she would take the signed basketball to school and watch her classmates' faces light up all over again. Next week, she would sit in a special section at Chase Center, surrounded by friends and family, watching her father play the game he loved. But tonight, she fell asleep thinking about the moment when her father had knelt down to speak to her class, the way he had turned her individual recognition into something that belonged to everyone. That, Riley realized, was the kind of person she wanted. To become someone who used success as a platform for lifting others up, someone who understood that the best achievements are those that make room for everyone to celebrate. The trophy would eventually take its place among other awards and recognitions, but the memory of this day, the unexpected arrival, the generous gesture, the community celebration, would last forever. It was a reminder that sometimes the most important victories are the ones we share, and that true success is measured, not just by what we achieve, but by how we choose to celebrate those achievements with the people who matter most.